Welcome. I'm Joanna Barsh. I'm here to show you centered leadership in all 5 dimensions. In 2007, a McKinsey team and myself set out to pull together all of the interviews that I'd been doing and shaped this map, if you would, of capabilities that I called centered leadership.
Engaging is such an important part of centered leadership because many women actually are hesitant to engage. It's not that we don't have the courage, but we're afraid to speak up. We're afraid to raise our hand and get into the ring. Some evolutionary psychologists believe that we're hardwired to, in fact, hold back. We're more risk averse. So if that's you, understand that it's totally natural. And indeed, we need to get out of our comfort zone in order to be able to grow.
It starts with presence, how we fill the room, and it goes on to ownership. After all, we're taking ownership of the experience we most want to create. And finally, learning to take risks and take action, using hope to counter fear to fuel us on the journey.
Today we're going to talk about engaging. And engaging has 3 parts. The first part is presence, filling the room, stepping up to be heard and be seen, to get grounded and centered in a time where you achieved what you thought was not possible, or you spoke up when your views needed to be heard, is how we build presence. But it's more than what you say. It's how you say it, how you hold yourself, how you connect with people in both tangible and intangible ways. So it's less about what you wear and how tall you stand, and far more about what's your intention, what you most hope to create, and how you connect across the room with everybody. And thereby we gain the courage and the hope to face the fears of change. I'd love to hear from 1 or 2 people. I'd love to hear your story.
Mine was probably about a year ago, and I was asked to speak at an event. And I was in the middle of a really busy time because my co-founder was out, and so I was kind of acting CEO, which is definitely out of my comfort zone. And I, got up on stage, bright lights, you can't see anything. And as I started to speak, I knew it could go one way or the other. I could either kind of clam up and get really nervous and appear that way to others, or I could just let go and be real and tell my story. And I've never been more proud than I was in that moment for being able to rise to the occasion.
So now put that in present tense. Put yourself in the moment and tell me what you most value about yourself in this moment.
That I'm not afraid.
And inspire. Cool. It is so hardwired in us to hold ourselves back. Some researchers would say that we are trained from an early age not to have ambition. Does anybody own their ambition? Do you feel good being, hey, I'm ambitious and I want to win and I love competition? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Do you ever hold yourself back in that?
No.
It's not feminine.
Not
I
anymore.
love it. I love it. Okay, we finally got a rise out of you. I like it. Most of us like modesty. I don't know, other than you, if anybody's mom ever said, oh, little girls aren't like that. That's what holds us back, that we begin to tell that to ourselves. But your ambition, your competitiveness is a strength for you. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of using it in the right way that is productive. The second part is ownership. And this is quite hard particularly for young people to integrate. It's not about the outcome that you so want to achieve. It's about the experience you choose to have. And that happens when you own who you are and what you choose. Ownership is so hard because we always think, well, it's about the other person. It's about what happened at work. I couldn't prevent that. That's lack of ownership. And at the extreme, lack of ownership is to be a victim. Who wants to be a victim? It's no fun. Instead, shift to what do I want to create for and of myself. When you shift to that stance, you are now an owner of the experience that you choose to create. You might not get the outcome that you want, You might not be as successful as you'd really like to be, but you'll have the experience you want to have. That's what ownership is really about.
I'm going through full-time recruiting for companies, and sometimes when I'm going into interviews, I just wonder, am I qualified for this job? And I have a lot of trouble taking ownership of my abilities. Do you have any tips for feeling more sure about your abilities or about taking ownership in that kind of situation?
I love that question. And the reason I do is that HR professionals across the country have told me that it is more often the case that when a new job requires 5 competencies or 5 skills, we women won't raise our hand for it until we have at least 4, if not all 5. We don't feel ready. We don't feel capable. However, most men will raise their hand if they have just 1. And so they're in there saying, I can do that job. And frankly, if you don't think I can do the job, you're not going to give it to me. So we need to actually shift from maybe I can't do it and the limitations that we're imposing on ourselves to actually think, well, let me secure the offer, and then I'll find out if this is a company that's a great fit for me, as opposed to limiting ourselves to begin with and not quite getting in the ring. Mm-hmm. And then finally, let's talk about taking risk and taking action, because only by leaving our comfort zone do we in fact grow and achieve. Most of the time, we like to be comfortable, safe, in our comfort zone, which is a little bit boring, but really nice. In order to grow, in order to achieve, we have to leave it. But when we do, we feel a tinge of fear. We feel excitement, maybe a thrill. Wow, I'm now meeting somebody I've never met before. I'm now doing an assignment. I'm not sure I can do it well. I'm now taking a class that's way over my head. That's the learning zone. If we go too far out of our learning zone, we hit the terror zone. And this is where learning stops. It's not that we don't have the courage, but we're afraid to speak up. We're afraid to raise our hand and get into the ring. So if that's you, understand that it's totally natural. And indeed, we need to get out of our comfort zone in order to be able to grow. So the way to think about it is to go back to our intention. What is it we truly want to create? That might give you that special oomph to raise your hand for a new assignment or a new job, to in fact speak up in a meeting filled with men, to sit at the table, as Sheryl Sandberg likes to say. All of these things take courage because the fear can be so great. So everybody, think about your next biggest challenge or opportunity. I'd like you to think about all of the upsides of that challenge or that opportunity. So for a moment, imagine that anything is possible. What do you get when you take that challenge on or you grab that opportunity? And now ask yourself, what else can you make happen? Now, compare it to the downside of doing nothing. So we compare the upside of the new opportunity or meeting the challenge with the downside of standing still. That is literally the opposite of what our brains tend to do. We usually go straight to the downside. If I take that new job, I might fail. If I try to talk to my boss who I don't like at all, it might yell at me. If I speak up in that meeting, they might think I'm stupid. And then I think, well, if I do nothing, I will have preserved my dignity. I will be cool. Everybody will think I'm smart, even though I'm not, and on and on. Don't do that. Do the opposite. The unnatural, upside and downside. I think you'll get to a different place when you do it. Thank you for watching Engaging. If there's one thing you take away, I hope you take away this. You know, I think Wayne Gretzky said it, actually. If you don't get up there to hit the puck, you have no chance of ever getting a goal. But if you try, you at least have that chance. So what are you waiting for? Get out of your comfort zone and get into learning.